Hey guys, Exploring with Eric here today, doing another cruise tip video here. Today's tip video is going to be all about back-to-back cruising. I got a few back-to-back cruises coming up later this year, one in April and then one in July. So got some tips coming for you guys for back-to-back cruising. If you're not sure what back-to-back cruising is, let's get right into it here. When people say they're going back-to-back cruises, it means that they're doing multiple cruises in a row on the same ship. Rather than getting off at the end of the cruise, they remain on board for another cruise. So, like for example, if you're going out of Miami, you go from Miami to the Bahamas and then you go back to Miami for a week cruise. You can stay on board and go for another 7 days on that same cruise ship, and it's a great way to make your vacation longer. And if you're flying into Miami, say from California or from the West Coast anywhere or from Europe, it's a great way to extend that vacation without having to go home so soon. So if you're wondering how to book a back-to-back cruise, personally I highly recommend using a travel agent or a travel advisor from the cruise line that you want to do the back-to-back on. So if you do want to book it on your own, my recommendation is to have two separate browsers open on your website, on the cruise line website, so you're able to see both dates. And then where the travel agent would be able to help you is if you're trying to get the same cabin, they'll be able to look for you, or you're able to look on the website as well. So it's much easier if you do have the same cabin for both trips. So you would book them separately, one for 1 week and another for the other week. So you would have two reservations, but it would still be a back-to-back. Some cruise lines will match them together once you get on board. So if you do have the same room, once the last day of your first cruise comes, you will not have to move your stuff. You stay in the same room. It's really good, really easy process. Sometimes you stay on the ship, you don't have to get off. But if you do have to get off for your back-to-back, you just take your key card with you, go off, show them your ID, and bam, you're right back on the ship. But if you do have to switch rooms, because I know sometimes I'll go from interior to balcony or from balcony to interior, your stateroom attendant will help you. I recommend you pack your stuff up so it's much easier for them, but they will help you move your stuff from one room to another room. So that's another good advantage of doing a back-to-back. You don't have to pack up, take your stuff downstairs, and then all the way back up to your room. So that's a good tip right there for back-to-back. Another tip about doing a back-to-back is if you live on the West Coast and you're going to places such as Alaska, Miami, or to Europe, to Asia, to Australia, the longer the trip you make it by doing more days and more trips, like on a back-to-back, it will help you save on airfare, hotels, transportations. So if you're going to be trying to go see these different places, try to maximize as many locations that you're able to go to. So like ports or just time out on your vacation. So instead of flying to Miami for a 7-day trip, and you know you want to go back to Miami or to Europe, try to do it all in one big trip, and it will help you out on saving on airfare, hotels, and extra expenses that comes with doing 2 trips instead of 1 trip. Another great thing about doing a back-to-back, say for example you're in Alaska and you wanted to do 2 cruises and the inside passage on the same ship. You'd be going to the same ports, but in Alaska, the port schedule, the time you're at port, is actually kind of limited. So if you're doing a back-to-back, you can go out, do your shore excursions one time, go out in town, go walk around, go eat lunch, and you don't feel like you're pressured to go and go. Like most people do in Alaska. They kind of overdo too much because they want to see everything. And in Alaska, things are spread out. So, for example, like Alaska, it's always great to do a back-to-back so you feel more relaxed and you have more time in port with the 2 cruises back to back. A question that I thought of when planning my back to back cruises was, can I go into port in between cruises? So say you leave from Miami and you come back into Miami. During that day, are you able to get off the ship? And the answer is yes, you can go into port. Most cruise lines will allow you to get off when the other guests disembark from their cruise, but they may not have regular shore excursions for you to enjoy. So you're pretty much on your own in that city. But make sure you know what time the all aboard is. All aboard is when you have to be back on the ship so we can go back on your next cruise. It's normally around 4 to 5 o'clock in the evening, so just keep that in mind and make sure you ask the cruise what time all aboard is so you're back in time. But it's a great way to explore the port that you're leaving from, because I normally come a day before, but I never really get to experience the port that I'm leaving from. It's more about the places I'm going to be going to, not necessarily where I'm leaving from or where I'm ending the trip and going home afterwards. And like stated before, do you have to get off between cruises? Yes and no is the answer. Yes, very confusing, but it's really up to the cruise line. I've done a back-to-back on Princess in Alaska, and we actually did not have to even exit the ship when we got into Seattle. On some cruise lines, you will meet somewhere in the morning where you go out as a group. You will have to go clear customs. Once you clear customs, they give you your new key and you're right back onto the ship. So that process normally takes only an hour or an hour and a half. And sometimes in the morning they'll have a special buffet breakfast for you, and they make it very comfortable and relaxing for you to enjoy your next cruise. So no issues with that. You might have to bring your ID with you to go through customs, but just double check with the cruise line, because some cruise lines will allow you just to stay on and you don't even have to go anywhere. And the Lido deck, the buffet, all that stuff is open for you to enjoy. When planning a back-to-back, you would think you would have to bring extra clothes with you, extra luggage. Not necessarily. Most cruise lines offer laundry service, and some even offer laundry mats for self-service for a small fee, and some offer it for free. So check with your cruise line, because you might not have to bring as much luggage as you think, and it's very useful for a long trip if you're able to do the laundry on your own for a small fee or for free. When I did my back-to-back in Alaska last year on the Discovery Princess, it was really amazing and a great time. And when that first cruise is coming to an end, it's really nice to know that you have another cruise and you don't have to worry about packing the night before, and you're on there and you're all set for your next adventure. So I highly recommend a back-to-back if you plan on doing one in the future.